Well, greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Friday, the 15th of December. Today, it's my youngest daughter's birthday today. I won't give away her age. Um, but great day for us, obviously. She's long distance from here, but we will talk. And we will, depending on when you listen to this, we may have talked already. But yeah, it's just nice to stay connected. Today's devotion is entitled The Time Had Come. The time had come. The passage we're looking at is John chapter 12, verses 20 to 36. And in verse 23 of that passage, Jesus says, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." There were several references to his time had not yet come. So he avoided some things. He steered away from some things. He told people, don't tell them what you've seen. But finally it comes. And of course, it's his walk to Jerusalem and to Calvary. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. This moment marks a turning point in Jesus' life. John repeatedly reports that Jesus' time or hour had not yet come. John 2:4, 4:23, 7:8 and 30, and 8:20. Now Jesus says the hour has come in 12:23. It was time for Jesus to enter into a new phase of the work. These verses explore what it will be like and how Jesus thinks about it. First, note that Jesus uses three figures of speech to say that he is going to die. This was important enough to say more than once and in more than one way to correct the popular misunderstanding. Because portions of the Hebrew Bible spoke about the eternalness of the Messiah, like Isaiah 9:7, Daniel 7:14, many believe that the Messiah would not die. Jesus corrects the view with three pictures. He likens himself to a kernel of wheat that falls to the ground and dies in John 12:24. The language sounds strange to us because we know that the seed is part of the life cycle of a plant. But because the seed appeared to quote unquote die, those living in Jesus' day associated the planting of a seed with death. Second, Jesus said he would be lifted up. Again, chapter 12, verses 32 and 33 of John. This, of course, is the elevation associated with his crucifixion. And third, he spoke of the sun going down. John had introduced us to Jesus as the light right off the top in chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Jesus had reached the sunset of his life on earth. Light would give way to the darkness, John 12:35. These three figures of speech combine to affirm that in this new phase of his life, Jesus would die. And what did Jesus think about that? It was necessary. It's what must be. Theoretically, Jesus could have gone to his Father and begged off the mission, avoiding the quote-unquote very reason I came to this hour. Death was a product of sin, and it's the final enemy to be defeated. Jesus had to die in order to rise from the dead. That meant his death was necessary. But Jesus' death would do more than just defeat death on our behalf. Jesus' death would bring glory to the Father. In other words, the death of Jesus was an act of worship through which Jesus would glorify the Father's name. Things were about to change. And Jesus was all in. Now, his disciples weren't so crazy about the idea. They were seeing Jesus in a whole different light. And the fact that he was going to die was troublesome to them. Matter of fact, remember Peter in Matthew 16 hears these words, and then he says to Jesus, "May it never be." And Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're thinking the way a man thinks. You're thinking the way a mere mortal thinks." And that's Satan's way. Thinking like fallen human beings who don't get the big picture of the power of God and the purpose of God. It's hard to imagine the setting. It really is. If you had a very, very good friend you'd been friends with your whole life, and one day they say to you, you know what, I think I'm going to, not I think, I am going to take a trip to such and such a place, and I plan on dying there. You do all you could, right? Well, don't go there. Stay home. Stay with me. I got extra room, whatever. That's the way the disciples saw it. And again, especially Peter. But Jesus knows differently. Jesus has the Father's will in mind. That's what guided him. The Father's words, he spoke those. The Father's deeds, he did those. Matter of fact, he didn't do anything unless he saw that it was the Father's will for him to say it, do it, go there, whatever the case may be. That is how we need to be as well. We speak Jesus's words. We do Jesus's deeds. Now we're not going to go to the cross and end up in a tomb and then get busted out after 3 days, but we are going to rise from the dead someday if we're dead before the Lord returns. It's an incredible story. I know it's Christmas time. I know people are all focused on manger scenes and little babies and all those kinds of things. And we've been talking about that in our Sunday morning services. The one we did last week on Advent, the week before was choir. But and we're going to talk about it again this week. Advent in the church historical tradition is not about Mary and Joseph. It's not about baby Jesus in a manger and shepherds and wise men. It's about the second advent of Christ. That's how they've practiced it. That Advent begins the new calendar church calendar year, I should say. And the focus for us at this time of the year is that Jesus came once for the salvation of souls, that people might repent, that people might return to the God who loves them. That's been done. That first Advent on our calendar is in the past. Yes, it's glorious. Yes, it's Emmanuel, God in the flesh, God with us. But now we live in anticipation of the second Advent. And the scriptures that are put out have us reading Old Testament prophecies, have us reading words of judgment against Israel, against any of supposedly God's people who don't live up to that measure. And so the time had come for Jesus to go to the cross there in the passage in John 12. But that second time is coming as well. And just as John the Baptist said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, repent. The king of that kingdom is returning again, and we need to repent. We need to be prepared. So that, as John writes in one of his epistles, that when he comes, we don't shrink away from him in shame. No intention of being a Debbie Downer, just advice for us all, meant in love and encouragement. Blessings to you today.